Today's video is all about meta play, and I'm sure that some of you are already rolling your eyes around, ready to post all the "meta does not affect me and my rating" comments that I kept reinforcing myself in past videos. And while some of you might sit there expecting this video to be mostly directed at the 1% of players who actually bother to 6-stack, you could not be more wrong. I mean, okay, you're kinda right. If you and your stack are dying to know which comps to play, when to play them, and how to play them, yes, this video is probably gonna be a great stepping stone for you. But even if you just play in smaller stacks or hell even in solo queue, this video could be very useful to you, because you see, knowledge is power. And all the different compositions that I'm going to talk about today are those which are actually run on ladder. So yeah, we're not gonna dive deep into why pro players in the league run double sniper on Junkertown attack. As fun of a video as that might be, today is all about the player, the average player. Which means that I want to give you guys the tools to do things you might have not been doing too much in recent memory. Winning. At the end of the day, I don't care what you do with the information that I give you, but my intention is to make your hero swaps and calls more decisive in the future, whilst actually being rooted in reason. So let's cut the chase and talk about the currently most relevant compositions that you will find when playing Overwatch in Season 9. Kicking things off is going to be the anti-dive comp, reason being that a lot of people, especially support players, hate dive compositions, which is why I want to give you the tools to defend yourself against it. In order to defeat a dive comp, you have to know what makes it powerful, what they are trying to achieve essentially. A dive comp's goal is usually picking someone off who's out of position by collectively jumping on them, or dive into your backline to take out your supports. It's a type of composition that doesn't have a heck of a lot of sustain, which means that they prefer quick and short-lasting engagements. So there are about 3 things we try to achieve when countering a dive. Have enough sustain to outlast their engagement, keeping our supports alive and disrupt their dive. The best way to achieve that is by pairing up Reinhardt, Zarya, Roadhog, Junkrat, Mercy, and Zenyatta. By pairing up 3 tanks, you make sure that you have fewer squishy bodies that make themselves easy targets for a dive. They have enough sustain to survive short engagements. Reinhardt can swing his hammer and damage the entirety of the enemy composition that's trying to jump you. Zarya is easily going to get to high charge because, well, the dive comp is diving you to do damage, so you know that you will get value out of your bubbles and you'll be keeping your supports alive longer. Supports in the name of Zenyatta and Mercy, which can pocket each other while Zen's Discord Orb melts the opposing tanks in no time. So what you want to do is stay together, catch the dive as they come into you, and take out the tanks leading the charge, which is going to be an easy task with Roadhog's hook, 2 tanks who are not affected by defense matrix, and a support whose literal job is melting tanks. If you then add Junkrat to the mix, who just keeps on spamming explosives and disrupts their positioning with his concussive mines, you really shouldn't have any problem winning that matchup. Without Winston and D.Va creating space for their Tracer and Genji combo, they won't really be able to do a heck of a lot. There are too many things in your comp that can essentially randomly take them out once the tanks are down. So the key is really just to take out the tanks as fast as possible. Given the power of dive comps on almost every single map, this is a comp that you can pull out whenever you can't handle it otherwise. It really isn't all that map dependent, but does shine in close quarter type maps like King's Row, given that the dive does not have a lot of space to work with, making them easier targets for your Junkrat. And that concludes our first comp of the day. That wasn't too hard, was it? Well, with the anti-dive out of the way, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Slambulance comp, otherwise known as Quad Tank. Their goal is honestly very simple. Pairing Reinhardt, Zarya, Roadhog, D.Va, Lucio, and Moira, you have a lot of big HP bodies that you speed boost onto the point, while spamming heals as Moira until you get your coalescence and just win, I guess. What you will notice is that this comp is very in-your-facey with its choice of tanks and the addition of Lucio. They want to either hook you into them with Roadhog or run a Zarya bubbled Reinhardt hammer into your face. As much as it might look like this comp is built around the idea of sustain, it really isn't. In fact, they try to win the engagement ASAP. What the Slambulance is trying to do is forcing your team to come and get them on the objective. But because everyone has so much HP, chances are that you will not be able to get any picks to open up the engagement. engagement. And every last bit of damage that you do to these huge tank bodies is only going to fuel their coalescence. So what they want to do is literally just walk into you, get you to damage them to get Moira's ultimate and Zarya's charge up, and then just pick and choose who they want to take out first. And if you have not managed to take out their primary source of healing before coalescence is up, then chances are that you will not be able to win the engagement anymore. So pulling this comp off is honestly not all that difficult. Just stay together, walk onto point, and make a decisive speed boost supported push into the opposition. Countering it on ladder is rather easy. Chances are that most teams you play against who pull this comp are not too aware of why they are doing it, other than I saw it in the league. So in most places on ladder, playing Junkrat is going to be enough. With all those huge tanks stacking in one place, all you have to do is spam into them to get your ultimate in roughly 45 seconds. And then riptire either of their supports in the face, watching out that Moira already used her fade. Without Moira, their chances to win decrease drastically. A solid way to counter them as an entire team is pulling the triple tank to have a similar amount of sustain, but add a Junkrat to the mix rather than the fourth tank, so you have the upper hand in the damage department. And that's already all the magic behind the Slambulance. It is a great comp to run out of the gate on attack because it is really difficult to stop if you're not expecting it, meaning you can usually get the first point for free. But you should avoid running it on maps that are too open or those that feature high ground in abundance. Your comp has virtually no mobility, meaning that all the enemy has to do is take control of high ground and freely damage you from any angle. If you cannot run your face into them, then you won't win with that composition. Funnily enough, even a dive comp can possibly dismantle you if you play it on the wrong map, because all they need is this space to dive your supports. So I recommend only running it on close quarter type maps like Horizon Lunar Colony, King's Row, and the like. Honestly, those are the three comps that are currently most relevant. You got the dive, the anti-dive, and the Slambulance. And dive in particular is kinda like Overwatch 101. In a perfect world, everyone would know how to play dive because it is the key to open up a lot of maps that are difficult to win on attack. Coordination is obviously what makes it so challenging, because you have to make sure everyone dives together and that on the same target. Tracer and Genji often have to get themselves into the right position in advance, and if D.Va does not appear for her Winston, then it's going to be difficult for the tank duo to create the space that the DPS need to do damage. But given that not everyone is playing in a full 6-stack, I also want you to consider powerful combos on a smaller scale, something that naturally you can also take advantage of as a full stack. For example, there are types of comps that split themselves into two groups. You got the Pharah Mercy combo in the sky, and then on the ground you got, for example, a team of Reinhardt, Zarya, Moira, and Soldier. The point here is to push the enemies with the ground team supported by Moira's top-notch healing, Zarya's bubbles, and Soldier's highly sustainable damage to give your Pharah in the sky all the space she needs to rain free damage from above. You can also try to play a comp that splits itself between a Widowmaker Mercy combo and a ground team consisting of D.Va, Winston, Lucio, and Tracer. Point being to dive the enemies, disrupt their positioning, and give your Widow the space she needs to pop some heads. Obviously, running the Pharmacy combo makes a lot of sense on maps like Lijiang Tower and Numbani, where you have just the right amount of aerial freedom to freely shoot rockets, but also enough cover to hide from hitscan players. The Widowmaker dive comp is very useful on maps and points with open sightlines, like Anubis or Dorado Attack. I would highly recommend to always pull out your dive comp on high ground heavy maps like, again, Dorado or Second Point Icon Vault to make sure that the enemies cannot just rain free damage on you on the card. And as already discussed, close quarter type maps like Horizon Lunar Colony and King's Row very much favor tank heavy or spammy types of compositions. You can obviously take some liberties here and there when it comes to which heroes you want to play exactly in order to accommodate to what your team is good at or what the enemies are running specifically. All I tried to do here was giving you some suggestions with comps that I have seen run successfully on a regular. And with all of that said, I hope that your 6-stack is now armed with the knowledge necessary to really take your gameplay to the next level. And if you're a solo queuer, I hope that being aware of all these different compositions helps you better adjusting your own hero choices, and maybe even pull out some miracle plays with others who are willing to cooperate. Nothing I covered today is an absolute must-do by any means. You see, what differentiates ladder play from pro play is that we make mistakes, a lot of them in fact. We do not play optimally and we have to adjust to that level of wrong playing. So at the end of the day, it's usually a good idea to do what you can do best rather than trying to do something that I taught you but then doing it very poorly. But once you reach a point on ladder where players are more aware of how the game functions and which comps are viable, knowing all these things is gonna become exponentially more important. I hope that I could give you guys some ideas and expand your understanding of how the game can be played. But I'm gonna call it a day, so thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you wanna see more, and I hope to see you all next time.